Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're diving right into a seriously fascinating proverb-like text by Oluyemi Oladevid. It's this brilliant piece of writing that somehow bridges profound spirituality with, of all things, real-world policy strategy. It's a short but incredibly dense piece called Truth Brings Salvation, and she literally tackles everything from personal growth to fiscal policy, all through the lens of these beautiful poetic metaphors.
So let's just start right here with this incredible quote. Impulse ruins a building. Policy keeps the city in shape. I'm going to pause for a second just to let that land. I mean, we all know what happens when decisions are made purely on impulse, right? Structures, whether we're talking about physical buildings or massive societal systems, they just collapse under the weight of uncalculated reactions. But on the flip side, policy, that steady, deliberate, structured thinking, that is exactly what maintains the shape and integrity of a city. Before we unpack the rest of these brilliant metaphors, let's actually step back and see exactly who she is and how her mind works.
So Oluyemi Oladevid is a proud Nigerian strategist and poet, and she explicitly states that she loves people. She uses her writing as this incredibly dynamic tool to bridge abstract, high-level thought with practical, on-the-ground action. She isn't just writing poetry for the sake of making something pretty. She is writing to enact real change. She uses these metaphors to make complex developmental strategies just way easier for us to digest and remember.
And when you look at her core passions, what's truly interesting is how she describes them herself. She is deeply, absolutely concerned with global development and transformation. She sees her ultimate role as a generator of solutions and a major influencer of strategy and policy. But, and this is key, she does all of this while being anchored deeply by a faith-based worldview, clearly stating her belief that God owns and rules the universe. This exact intersection of divine faith and practical policy, that's the engine driving the entire text we're looking at today.
All right, to truly grasp her text, let's deconstruct it thematically. Starting with Theme 1, personal readiness and capacity for growth. She writes in her opening lines that hungry lamps are empty enough for fuel. And wow, this brilliantly illustrates a foundational concept of learning. I mean, just think about a lamp for a second. If it's already full of water or dirt or just the wrong kind of oil, how on earth can it receive the actual fuel it needs to produce light? We've got to cultivate this kind of emptiness, this hunger or openness in our own minds if we ever hope to be filled with knowledge. Essentially, we have to realize what we don't know before we're ever really ready to learn.
Building on that state of readiness, she writes, right information are well-driven nails. Here, she's equating having the correct, accurate information directly to structural integrity. When you're building a framework, like whether that's a house, a business, or just your life, you need nails that are driven straight and true to hold the whole shebang together. She's showing us right here just how much she values solid, unshakable facts as the absolute vital connectors for our ideas.
Moving right along, let's hit Theme 2, Civic and Economic Policy.
Now, returning to that quote we opened with, let's contrast these two ideas directly. An impulsive leader might just tear down a wall because they're angry, completely ruining the building. But a policy-driven leader? They map out the city grid. They make sure the water, the power, and the transit flow smoothly. So she's really making this direct plea for measured governance here. She is championing structured, long-term policy over those destructive, erratic impulses in leadership.
But she also totally gets that real life isn't always perfectly neat. She writes, messy ranches are thankful for active herds. She uses this striking agricultural metaphor to remind us that productivity and growth, they can often look pretty messy. Actually, scratch that. They usually look messy. If a ranch is perfectly pristine, well, it probably just means there are no animals there, nothing is growing, nothing is happening. But a messy ranch means the herd is active, they're feeding, they're multiplying. She's telling us that in the world of development, activity and progress are absolutely things to be grateful for, even if they disrupt our perfect little order for a bit.
Then, she delivers what is arguably one of the most fascinating linguistic pairings in the whole text. Dynamic troughs welcome fiscal stimulus. So the crucial question to ask here is how she weaves highly modern economic terminology, like fiscal stimulus, into these ancient-sounding pastoral metaphors like dynamic troughs, to describe global development. A trough is obviously where the herd comes to drink and get nourished, right? Well, by making it dynamic, she's suggesting a system that is primed and ready to distribute resources efficiently. When you pour fiscal stimulus, or financial investment, into a system that is dynamic and ready, incredible growth happens.
She continues her commentary on development with this line. Agile tents are okay for development.
Now, earlier she talked about buildings and cities, which are obviously permanent and rigid. But here she's suggesting that flexibility and adaptability, which she represents with tents, are perfectly suited for navigating a rapidly changing world. Sometimes you really don't need a massive concrete structure. You just need an agile tent that can move to exactly where the resources or the people are. Flexibility is a totally valid strategy.
And for the folks in charge of protecting these structures and systems, she heavily emphasizes vigilance. Palace guards need eyes that see. I know it sounds super simple, but it's actually a profound critique of leadership and oversight. It is not enough to just stand at the door looking tough in a fancy uniform. Guards, regulators, auditors, they must actually possess true clarity of vision. They've got to be actively watching, analyzing, and truly understanding the threats and the opportunities right in front of them.
Which brings us to our final section, Theme 3, Spiritual Truth and Piety.
Let's see how all these ideas build into her broader worldview. She notes that knowledge wears a crown, elevating wisdom and correct information to this royal, guiding status in our lives. However, she immediately follows that up by stating, work meets with mercy. So while she deeply, deeply respects human effort, solid policy, and hard work, she is quick to point out that ultimately all our human endeavors rely on grace and mercy to truly succeed. It's this really beautiful balance between taking total responsibility for our actions while also acknowledging a higher power.
Then she writes this beautiful line, "Piety has a broad shelter." This perfectly captures her belief that a faith-based, pious worldview isn't restrictive or narrow at all. Instead, it provides this wide-reaching, expansive foundation and protection for all of her global development goals. True piety, in her view, creates a massive umbrella under which healthy policy, robust economic growth, and genuine human flourishing can safely reside.
As we look at the very title and core message of her text, she delivers her ultimate thesis: plain truths are soul-saving. Amidst all the complex policy, the dynamic troughs, the fiscal stimulus, and the intricate strategic planning, it is the fundamental, unvarnished, plain truths that truly save us. At the end of the day, honesty, integrity, and absolute clarity are the ultimate solutions.
She closes her poem with this deeply optimistic tone, light discovers abundance. It's essentially a promise that when we bring truth, clarity, and readiness, which she collectively calls light, into literally any situation, we will naturally uncover prosperity. The abundance is already there. It's just waiting in the dark. We just need the light of good policy and plain truth to finally reveal it. As we wrap up this explainer today, I want to leave you with one final thought. Oluyomi Oladevid has given us a masterful, practical blueprint hidden inside a poem. So how will you use her metaphorical insights to fuel your own hungry lamps? How can you apply these plain truths to shape the policies of your own life and work? Keep that in mind as you move forward this week. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep seeking those plain truths.